The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Defendant entered the residence, went to the third floor, and with a knife, killed Madison Mogan and Caitlin Gonzalez. He encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
Killer Kohberger's crime scene revealed. Newly released photos providing an inside look at the Moscow murders. Plus, convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell blocked from the prison's service dog program for crimes against the vulnerable. Also this hour, we're spotlighting the latest lawsuit from the ex-husband of disgraced mommy vlogger Ruby Frankie. Kevin Frankie is now suing convicted child abuser Jody Hildebrandt for medical malpractice. And was Mindy Casotis pregnant? Could that have been the motive for murder in the dismembered wife murder trial? It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We planned a wonderful show for you to start off your Monday, so let's get it going as we always do. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. A wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what I see when I look at defendant Nicholas Casotis in that courtroom. Pants on fire. Hearing all the case evidence, this guy lies so much his lies have lies. He lied to the victim, his second wife, Mindy. He lied to her parents about her being pregnant and how she died. He lied to his third wife. He lied to police. I bet he even lied to what sounds like his imaginary friend, Jim McIntyre, too. My heart breaks for Mindy Casotis. To be killed and dismembered in the prime of her life, and when it seems that she may have also been with child, is unconscionable. My heart's also breaking for the wolf's other wives having been married to him. Did you see his third wife testify? Poor lady, thank goodness she got away from him when she did. The wolf was messaging her when Mindy was still alive, lying and saying that he was widowed, that his wife and his unborn child had died 2 years earlier. How fortuitous of the wolf to say that back then, and that he would magically become widowed just a couple months later. Nicholas Casotis is a wolf in sheep's clothing to me. He looks all normal and smart and polite sitting there at counsel table, but based on the evidence that I've seen so far, I think he is a very dangerous guy. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it right now. It's time for your daily docket. Did him telling you that his wife had passed impact your trust of Mr. Stark?
It definitely impacted me. It made me feel very sad and bad for him. Because that's a terrible thing that could happen to somebody, you know, to lose your wife and an unborn child. That's how I felt at the time. I felt bad for him.
The case I was just talking about, the dismembered wife murder trial, resumes in Georgia at 9 a.m. Eastern. We're going to take you there live when it does. In Utah, we've got a brand new trial starting for you. We're calling it the Fugitive Sex Offender Trial for defendant Nicholas Rossi. This guy allegedly fled the United States and faked his own death after being accused of rape. That trial's going to start up at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And in Florida, we've got Neha Gupta in court for a hearing today. This is the pediatrician who's accused of killing her 4-year-old daughter while on vacation. Court's going to start up in that one at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Right now, though, we turn to our top story for you. Chilling, newly released crime scene photos and surveillance footage revealing the aftermath of the Idaho student murders. Moscow police releasing more than 200 photographs showing the inside of the King Road home where Caitlin Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were killed. Many of those pictures look like a beautiful house a day after maybe a college party, right? You know, there's some empty Solo cups, some empty beer bottles, some of these things showing the life these college students were living, right? Other photos, though, are terrifying. They show blood spatter. Look at this sliding glass door that Kohberger used to sneak inside to do the homicides. Look at these prints on the window. This is just chilling, those 2 handprints on the exterior window right after the murders. Moscow police also released neighbors' surveillance footage from a camera where you can see Killer Kohberger. That's his white Hyundai Elantra driving back and forth from the house. This is just before the murders. He was surveilling the property. So what do these newly released items of evidence tell us about how these murders happen? Let's bring in our experts and talk about it. Criminology expert, author, and professor Dr. Debbie Goodman is with us. So is former solicitor, former SLED agent, and attorney now in the private sector and lawmaker in the state of South Carolina, Tommy Pope. Great to see you both this morning. Dr. Debbie, would you start us off? Tell us what you were thinking about the story, the picture that these items paint as you were reviewing the new pieces of evidence released.
Good morning, Julie, Tommy. Such a barbaric, brutal crime scene, and although we've been following fact patterns for nearly 3 years, somehow, as we know, the pictures really tell the story. And of course, we understand the enjoyment that these college students, Ethan, Zaina, Maddie, Kaylee, were living until it became this house of horror. But Julie, as you and Tommy and the Cordies know, this individual with all of the qualities and characteristics of a psychopath, grandiosity, narcissism, the rage, the revenge, the fury that we now see indicated in these photos, I would actually now, Julie, put him in a different category that I had not mentioned up until this point because I had not seen the photos. But now that we know the number of stab wounds of Kaylee at or near 34 and Xana potentially 50 wounds, I would call this individual a process-oriented killer. And we usually don't use that, Julie, when it refers to mass murderers because the outcome for them is just the number of fatalities. That's the goal. But the process-oriented killer yields more to the serial killer who is actually enjoying the process of the killing. And I think that's unfortunately and tragically what happened here.
Oh, I think you're right, Dr. Debbie. That is some powerful analysis. We appreciate it. And it really makes me think of what we heard Olivia Gonsalves say when she did an interview with News Nation. I know her impact statement was remarkable. Let's go back and listen to this clip again. She's on News Nation. She is Kaylee's big sister. Here we go.
My speech wasn't to Kaylee and Maddie, it was for them. And if Kaylee and Maddie had been here today, it was something that I feel like would have rung true to them. My body was telling me, run, get out. This is a threat. The best description I can give you is like if I had come face to face with an alien, because back behind there's no human being, there's no humanity.
There's no human being, no humanity, just exactly what you were saying, Dr. Debbie. Boy, thank you for that. Working this case, Tommy Pope, we want to talk to you about this, tapping into your years of experience as an investigator in South Carolina. Would you assess the job of law enforcement? Because I think this is something not talked about so much, but an important job that was done here in locking up this animal.
I think it begins with processing the crime scene, and probably even before that, it begins with the first arriving officers not messing up the crime scene, learning to secure it. Julie, as a side, the first thing that hit me was that sliding door. So many houses, the house I've got in Columbia where my daughter stays has got a sliding door, and they laughed when the first thing I did was cut a doweling that you put in the door that double reinforces it. And, nobody thinks it's going to happen. But when you look at this crime scene, it brings it home This could be your college home, your kid's home. This isn't, some fiction. And so going back to the defendant himself and the investigation, I think law enforcement did a tremendous job of processing the entire scene, because you think about every time I see the red cups and the table left out, the first thing I want to know, am my kid's going to clean it up or am I going to clean it up? But you got mess, you got, fingerprints, telling who's been there. So to discern it out and get the proper defendant is kudos to law enforcement in that regard. And what it tells me about the defendant is, as the doctor said, he is cold and calculating and methodical. And I don't think we think of it in the abstract. We don't think of it in the concrete of once he gets in that door, what he does next. And then the intimacy of the knife attacks and the number of attacks. It wasn't just, as you said, to see how many people he could kill. It was personal as to each one.
Mm-hmm. Right, Tommy. Excellent analysis. But looking at this photo, this is so troubling for so many reasons. Dr. Debbie, I want you to weigh in on this here, please. What do you think might have been going on with these prints on the outside?
Right. Well, again, and just to piggyback on what you and Tommy said about the excellent work of law enforcement, and that's why everything matters. When we have crime scene experts, local, state, and federal, they examine everything. So anybody in the field who would see this, Julie, these prints on the on the glass, on the window here, it would indicate, again, what we've been saying all along, the planning, the purpose, the premeditation, and the intent of what this individual first wanted to do and then unfortunately did. And by carrying this out and by seeing these prints, it's almost like he left the calling card. Here I am, and come get me. And thankfully they did. Absolutely, Dr. Debbie.
Tommy Pope, that video surveillance footage released, captured from a neighbor's home of him circling around. We understand it was first obtained by News Nation, this video, and they aired it. We're acknowledging that here. Here it is. This is the video again, where this is prior to the homicides. This is around 3:30 a.m. Again, 4:20 a.m. on November 13th, 2022. Tommy, what do you think when you see this kind of surveillance being done with him in that car?
Well, Julie, goes back to what we said. It's not random. It's cold and calculated and planned. I know there was a lot of disappointment at the plea, particularly with the victims' families, that, somehow you're going to hear a why or, what brought this on. But, rarely do we ultimately hear. Victims oftentimes want to go to trial because they want to hear the truth. And I have to tell them, the defendant doesn't have to say anything. You may never hear it. And so whatever put them on his radar, he was focused. I mean, like you said, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. He's out looking, checking. It's not something he drunkenly stumbled into or angrily stumbled into. He was cold and planning, and the only better place he could be now would be on death row. But he's where he needs to be.
Yes.
He's where he needs to be.
Sure is. Tommy Pope, Dr. Debbie Goodman, excellent analysis from you both, as always. Dr. Debbie, you have to let you go to your students, off to class. Thank you so much for everything this morning. We'll see you soon. Tommy's coming with us for opening statements, and we're going to hit a break. When we come back, here's what's next.
A unanimous jury has found Ghislaine Maxwell guilty of one of the worst crimes imaginable. The road to justice has been far too long. But today, justice has been done.
And now she's not even allowed near the dogs. That's right. The convicted felon banned from the prison's puppy training program because of her crimes. Good. We'll talk about it. And convicted child abuser Ruby Frankie's family is back in the spotlight. This time, it's about her husband. Her now ex-husband, I should say, is suing her partner in crime, Jody Hildebrand. We'll talk about that when we come back.
The Court TV Podcast. will return.
Now for what's trending in true crime, and it's Ghislaine Maxwell. She's now serving her time at Club Fed in Texas, a prison camp with lots of perks. But there's one perk she cannot take part in, and that's the Canine Companions program, where inmates help train service dogs. The CEO of the program telling NBC News that puppy training is off limits to anyone whose crimes involve abuse toward minors or toward animals, including any crime of a sexual nature. Since, of course, puppies are vulnerable little creatures. So it seems that a puppy program is one of the very few drawing the line against Ghislaine Maxwell. At least that's how it seems. So if Maxwell is too dangerous to work with dogs, should she be in this cushy prison camp at all? Let's talk about it. Let's bring in our guests. I have with me criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Mario Gallucci and retired lieutenant and canine expert. He's also the owner of Houndstown USA, Mike Gould. Good morning to you both. Lieutenant, you have actually run a program like this. So tell us, in your view, did they make the right decision with her?
Good morning, Julie. So, yeah, absolutely. My charity, Houndstown Charities, we had done that pre-COVID. But I think it's a mistake. It doesn't make any, actually doesn't make, it's illogical to me. When we did this, we didn't care about the crimes, to be very honest with you. Don't forget, this is highly supervised. We're not giving these inmates dogs. We're watching every move they make, as are the correctional staff. So rape, robbers, murderers, that's what this is for, is to have a transformational experience for inmates. The dogs are in a bad, we took shelter dogs, and inmates, they're in theoretically a similar situation. So this bonding process is to create empathy and responsibility. It shouldn't have anything to do with the crime, in my opinion.
Wow, that's fascinating hearing you say that. Okay, Lieutenant, thank you. Mario, of course, I want you to weigh in. Your thoughts on this, the CEO of that program saying it is a no-go with people like Ghislaine.
So, the Bureau of Prisons makes all the decisions for the federal prisons, and they've decided that if somebody commits a crime that has something to do with the abuse of children, and she was convicted of the abuse of children, they don't think that she should be training, these types of dogs. I mean, we're not talking about a dog that's going to, search for drugs. We're talking about a service dog. So, look, I'm not a dog trainer, but dogs are intuitive. Dogs take to people. And if you have somebody that is abusing children, convicted of abusing children, maybe the Bureau of Prisons feels that, her intuitiveness is not what they want this dog to be doing. If you're teaching a dog to be sensitive and compassionate and be a service dog and help people, I've worked with service dogs. I've worked with service dogs with witnesses, where witnesses testified with the service dog on their lap because it made them relaxed. If you can't get the service dog to do that because they're not getting along with this type of person, I guess that's what they're thinking. I understand what the lieutenant is saying. The lieutenant's taking the opposite stance here. What he's saying is, this is the type of person that maybe you should be giving a dog to. Maybe they can learn compassion. So, it goes both ways. But the Bureau of Prisons makes the decisions, and that's their decision. Right,
sure does. Now, I appreciate you weighing in on that, Mario. Lieutenant, about the specifics of the training, so this is fascinating to me. So how exactly could an inmate be useful at all to someone like you who's an expert who can train the dogs just fine on your own, doesn't need to involve somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell? How exactly could these inmates be helpful? Would you explain that part of it to us?
Right, of course. So as we said, humans and dogs, they're sharing a lot of similar emotions. So it's not that we're training dogs to be better with inmates. We're actually training inmates, in a sense, to be better with other living creature. A dog is a living creature. As I said, we took these dogs from shelters because they found themselves in kind of a similar situation. They're incarcerated, and sometimes for not all the exact reason we know. So I just see this as a human and dog experience, not being labeled by a robber, rapist, sex offender. I've trained dogs to go to court and sit on children's laps. And I've been there and I understand it. I think the Bureau of Prisons is just making a mistake here. I don't understand it, frankly, because all this in New York State, that's where I work, and that's where I instituted these programs. These were all violent felons, drug crimes. And I never even asked, In order to get into my program, you had to look me in the eyes and shake my hand. That was the test, providing obviously the prison allowed it, that they weren't extremely violent, dangerous people. But that was my test. I didn't care about. You know, you're not supposed to take political and moral views about inmates. So this program was designed for people like that, to just bond, to develop empathy. And sometimes it's a spiritual transformation. Many times it's a transformation of the inmate. And it's helping the dogs that are going to be they're locked up and incarcerated as well.
This is fascinating. It's fascinating hearing you say that. I did not expect that from you, Mike Gold, and I'm surprised in the very best way, you know, because nobody loves dogs, you know, more than you. My God, you rescued them. You've devoted so much of your life, you know, to dogs and your program, Handcuffs to Healing. I thought you would say the opposite, but this is a very enlightening conversation. And I know you love your dogs more than anything, too, Mario. I know we're all dog lovers here. I think everybody watching the program is. We all adore them. And I guess this whole idea that they're saying, you know, oh, these are vulnerable animals. Your point, Lieutenant, if I'm right, is that there is incredible supervision. This is not a situation where someone could go off alone with a dog and do some harm. There would be heck to pay if anybody steps out of line, right?
Yeah, well, these are therapeutic programs. It's no different than AA meetings in these different environments. There's all kinds of social therapeutic activities taking place. The dog is the miracle connection between the two. I've seen it with my own eyes. These hardened criminals, they're depressed, they're lonely. Yeah, they committed violent crimes. But when they touch a dog, as we all know, just like the children in court, when you can put your hand on a dog sitting on your lap, it changes you, and you may have a different perspective. When I did it, the results were phenomenal. All 6 dogs we used 6 dogs as a test. They were of all breeds. This is the beauty of it. Dogs don't discriminate. They're not homophobic. They don't make moral decisions. So the dogs in our programs were pit bulls. I mean, every mutation of a dog possible. That's what they just had to be. So it was really kind of a spiritual, transformational experience for me. When you witness it and watch what happens, it's no different. I think the Bureau of Prisons made a huge mistake. I think they jumped into this with human illogic when it relates to dogs and humans.
I hear you. Well, boy, this is really, really helpful. A great conversation. Mike Gold, you have to go train some dogs. I understand you got a busy day ahead of you. Thank you so much for weighing in. Really appreciate your insight. Mario Gallucci is coming with us. You do the same at home, please. When we come back, here's what's next on Opening Statements.
I was led to believe that this world was an evil place, filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, and children who need abused.
Just look at this. Remember this abuse case with Ruby Frankie and her best buddy, Jody Hildebrandt? Well, now, Ruby's ex-husband is suing her partner in crime there. We'll break it down when we come back. And was Mindy Casotis pregnant? We're taking a look at the rumors and the lies that have all been swirling around in the dismembered wife murder trial.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
Welcome back. In our spotlight this morning, the ex-husband of Ruby Frankie, the former parenting YouTube star who's now in prison for abusing her children. Kevin Frankie suing his ex-wife's partner in crime and their therapist, Jody Hildebrandt. He's suing her for medical malpractice, and he wants a jury trial. Hildebrandt's also doing time, like her buddy Ruby Frankie, for abusing Frankie's children. In 2023, the Frankie's 12-year-old son, you'll remember this, escaped Hildebrandt's home, ran to a neighbor's house. Thank goodness he did, to get some help.
Has he told you where his mom or dad are?
I haven't asked him that. Yeah. You know where your mom is?
I really got these things.
Yeah, I'm sure that doesn't matter, son. Do you know where your mom and dad are?
Well, actually, I don't know where my mom is, but I do know where my dad is. He's not anywhere here.
These poor children. Can you imagine? I mean, the abuse was quite severe. quite severe. Starvation, lots of injuries to these children. It was clear they were bound like prisoners living in a home. Now, both of these women, these two best friends and former business partners, pleaded guilty to child abuse charges, both of them serving up to 30 years in prison for their crimes. Now, Kevin Frankie has custody of his 4 minor children while his ex-wife is doing her sentence. So why this lawsuit and why now? He's claiming that there was negligence in the way Jody Hildebrandt treated him. And so he's looking to recover something for her negligence in practice. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's bring in psychotherapist Dr. Janie Lacey and attorney Tommy Pope. Great to have you both on this. Okay, so Dr. Janie, Kevin Frankie says that Hildebrandt used her status as a mental health professional to try to manipulate him and isolate him from his family. What are your thoughts on that, please?
My thoughts, Julie, in reviewing the case was he has a case. You know, first I noticed that she was representing herself as a psychologist, but in her state she was actually licensed as a clinical mental health counselor. So to me, this was probably her using exaggerated credentials to gain trust. And then also looking at how she diagnosed and treated him, a lot of it had no basis in what I was reading because there was no formal testing of Kevin. And then also, you know, I think that the biggest one, right, being a state of Florida supervisor, the biggest one that can take license away is a breach of confidentiality, which I also believe applied in this case.
Appreciate that, Dr. Janie. Thank you. So you believe there sounds like there's grounds here. I'm wondering, Tommy, about the money side. Is there even anything to get from this lady who's now locked up? You do civil practice work, so would love to tap into your thoughts on that. Do you think there is any recovery here?
Julie, that's always the issue, and I'd read, you know, that this is often the case. They file these suits in Utah, but I'm not sure that there will be assets. You know, a lot of times people, if it's a slow roll that they're going to prison, they divest themselves of the assets. If they've already admitted to committing crimes, hiding assets is not that big on the list of crimes comparatively. And so I don't know if it's more maybe for his healing or getting out, I always used to say if a client said it's the principle of the matter, then invariably you're not going to be successful financially. It's going to take you down this hole. And it's hard sometimes for folks to let go of it. And so it may be that his attorney sees an avenue, or it may be that the client wants to push it to kind of vindicate himself in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Tommy, thank you for that. So in the lawsuit, it claims that Kevin Frankie was estranged from his family when the child abuse occurred. You know, a lot of people feel some kind of way about him. He is the children's father. He was not charged. There were a lot of questions as to why not, where was he? Apparently he was estranged, and let's listen to what he told police after he learned that his son fled from Jody Hildebrandt's home.
They're not at your home in Springville. And I'm not trying to trip you up. I can see you're hesitant to talk to me. I understand that.
Well, where I live, no, yeah. I haven't seen them for over a year. Like I said, I don't nothing is going on in their lives or anything going on. We've communicated maybe 4 times in 2023 since January.
So are you aware of how she disciplines the kids or how she handles the kids with behavioral issues or anything like that?
No.
Hadn't seen the kids in over a year. Over a year. I remember when this case was brewing and as we were going through the process eventually to that plea, and I'm thinking, this guy, I think he's very fortunate that he was not charged, but that's another conversation for another day here. They're his kids, didn't see him for over a year. They're in the Hildebrandt house. Dr. Janie, what I keep thinking about is I hope he does recover money from Jody Hildebrandt so that he can use it for therapy for those kids. Dr. Janie, how much treatment do you think these children are going to need after they went through those horrific experiences?
Well, the kids are going to need a lot of expert and someone that is really trained in not only religious cults, but childhood abuse, right? That's really trained in trauma treatment and really having a good support system. So we look at it in twofold, having a good support system in their family system, and then having a good therapeutic team parallel with the family that's also working in conjunction with them. And over time, these children can find healing and find reparative work where they can go on and live normal lives and very successful lives. But this foundational, especially these first couple of years, is going to be important. And that therapeutic team, along with having a sound, healthy support system in their family, is going to be key, Julie, for these kids.
Oh, Dr. Janey, that's really helpful. Interesting how you shared how it's going to be really nuanced, someone with a good understanding of cults and then extreme religious beliefs and the trauma that these kids have been through to be able to help them understand and navigate what went on is ooh, it's going to be quite a task. Our hearts go out to them. The judge was very clear when the judge chastised Jodi Hildebrandt in court, especially because she was a mental health professional, especially because of her training, her experience, and her hand in all of this abuse. Let's watch.
Your conduct in this case was disastrous for these children. Adults are supposed to protect children. Adults with specialized training in particular are supposed to protect children. You didn't do that in this case. In this case, you terrorized children, and the results have been tragic.
Yeah, the judge is absolutely right. Tommy Pope, last word to you here, please, in terms of any thoughts on justice here. Was it done, in your view, with Jodi Hildebrandt, Ruby Frankie, in your thoughts on where, if anywhere, you think this suit's going to go now with Kevin and Jodi?
Well, I think, the most egregious thing I see is how the Hildebrand was using it, his confidences, his treatment to basically drive a wedge in that family, to give her the opportunity to spend time with the wife, to spend time doing the things she wanted to do. And so it's almost like when a police officer uses his uniform to commit a crime. I think she basically used her perceived authority to destroy this family, to torture those kids, to ruin this man's life, regardless of, what he could have done different. If you look at domestic situations, divorce situations, when the court or somebody tells you to stay away, and you get called to court every time you don't, he was in a difficult position. And we're on the outside looking in, but I think really she was the worst of the worst at using her ability to help people to manipulate it to her own ends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely. Just evil conduct. They are in prison where they belong. Big thanks to you both for the great conversation. Dr. Janey Lacey, I know we have to let you go. Thank you for lending us your expertise. We'll see you soon. Tommy Pope is coming with us. Please do the same at home. Still ahead on opening statements. Here's what we've got.
Did you find anything that would be indicative of the fact that she was pregnant at the time of her death? And so it was your understanding that while she was last alive, she was pregnant?
Yes.
So is Mindy Casotis pregnant? Could that tip the scales of justice in the dismembered wife murder trial? We'll talk about it next.
This is the Court TV podcast.
Welcome back to Opening Statements. Let's talk about what's tipping the scales in the dismembered wife murder trial. The victim, Mindy Casotis, was she pregnant? Well, her ex-husband, the defendant, Nicholas Casotis, who was in the Navy for a while, he was a JAG officer. He's accused of murdering and dismembering her. She was his second wife. On Friday, his third wife came into court, told the jury that he told her that Mindy and his unborn child had passed away.
He told me that he was a widower and that he had lost his wife and his unborn child about 2 years prior, and that they had both died in a hospital.
And he told you that when?
He told me that he first referenced that his wife had passed away in October of 2022 in Twitter direct messages.
Okay, we also heard from Mindy's parents last week that say that the defendant told them that Mindy was expecting. The medical examiner, though, testified that there was no indication that she was pregnant at the time of her death. So what do you believe? Let's bring in our legal eagles, Mario Gallucci and Tommy Pope, on the show this morning. Okay, Mario, what do you say about this? Do you think Mindy was pregnant at the time, or was this another lie from the defendant?
So I think it's just another lie by the defendant, and the reason why the prosecution is bringing it up is to show one motive. I mean, he killed her because he was with this other woman, and it goes to show that he lies, he's deceitful, and, credibility is always an issue in a case like this. So the fact that he's lying about his wife being pregnant, he's lying to this woman about being a widower, it goes, one, to motive, and it goes to show the type of person he is. And I think they're doing a very good job with painting this picture of lies and deception when it comes to him. So, it's a big deal. I mean, the parents never even saw pregnancy. There was barely any blood recovered from the residence, so they couldn't test that. And like the medical examiner said, there was no proof of pregnancy. It just goes to show his lies and deceitfulness.
Right, Mario. Yeah, I really like what you're saying there. Tommy, let's continue off of what Mario shared with us. So we know that when Minnie was still alive, he's sending messages to wife number 3 saying that Mindy is deceased, and so is his unborn baby, that he's been widowed. And then a couple months later, sure enough, it happens. What do you think? Could this be kind of the nail in the coffin, so to speak, for him, that he told this to this witness who's alive, thank goodness, and came in and told the court all about it?
I think, it's like Mario said, why tell a little lie when you can tell a big one? And so if I've lost my wife, and that's sad, because the lady, the third wife said, this might be a life lesson about don't marry people you meet on X or something. But the fact that she bought into it, I mean, losing the child too makes it more horrendous. Now, I will say with this crime scene and the state of the body, it's the forensic examination had to be tremendously different. Difficult because of the dismemberment, the issues. But the forensic pathologist has to prove, what they see, not what they don't see. And so, I think the fact that the parents didn't see, because normally, that's one of the first things you reveal when a pregnancy moves on is you want to share it with the family. And so the fact that they didn't, I come back to Mario and the lies and the fact that prosecution's being able to get it in to show that, as Julie likes to say, his pants are on fire.
Thank you for that, my friend. Yep, I got another pants on fire moment here. Mindy's mom, these parents, your hearts break for them. I know they do. This is where she's testifying in court about what the defendant told her about Mindy being pregnant.
And so it was your understanding that while she was last alive, she was pregnant?
Yes.
Did they give you an idea, and I say they, I mean, did your daughter specifically tell you when she was due?
She didn't specifically tell me. Mr. Cassotis told us.
When did he tell you she was due?
January 8th.
January 8th of 2023.
Oh, that'd be a lightning speed pregnancy, wouldn't it have been? Wow, geez Louise. And Mario, how about the mother not hearing it from her daughter? This guy, yeah, pants on fire, huh? Go ahead, Mario, what do you say?
I say the same thing I just said. I mean, this guy is as deceitful comes. I mean, he goes on wherever he found the third wife, and he tells her, his wife died and she was pregnant, and and now he needs to get married because of all this emotional baggage. But it goes one step further here. He's telling the mother of the woman that's pregnant that she's pregnant, and he's continuing the lies to people that are related. So this is about as deceitful as deceit gets. And certainly the prosecution is having a field day with this.
Oh, for sure. Speaking of, Mario, I want to ask you another question before I know we have to let you go and get off to court. You've had a big trial the last couple of weeks. So tell me, when we look ahead, we could see wife number one today. That's a possibility. We have a couple more witnesses we think the state's going to call before they rest. Do we think we're going to see this guy get up on the stand and give us his version of events and talk about his friend Jim McIntyre? What do you think, Mario?
So it's always a big, that's the biggest decision you make as a defense attorney. I just finished a trial last week where my client testified and we got an acquittal on murder.
Oh, so, congratulations. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. I didn't even realize it was wrapped up. Gosh, boy, that's incredible. Sorry to interrupt. Okay, go ahead, Mario. Yeah,
but
continue, please.
It really depends on what your defense is going to be here. If his defense is, I didn't kill her, and all the proof is shown that he did kill her and he's got all these lies, it's going to be a tough cross-examination. But it's his decision. A lawyer can only take them to the water. We can't make them drink the water. If he wants to testify, it's his right to testify.
That's so true. I know you can, what do they say? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I know that is so true. Oh, Mario, well, thank you so much for coming on, and congratulations on the big win recently. Get some rest. Tommy Pope is coming with us for Court TV Live. We want you to do the same at home. When we come back, we're going to be taking you into the trial in Georgia. The trial we were just talking about for this former JAG officer. That's all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. I'm your host, Julie Grant, and it's been great being with you. On this show, I am calling out any pants on fire moments in our big trials and true crime stories, and I want you to come along with me. Opening Statements is live every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern on Court TV. Thank you for downloading this episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. You can watch past shows anytime you like on CourtTV.com.